take a sip,
Start
and then
this.
we'll be good. All right, I think we're on. We're on?
We're on.
All
Let's
right.
go.
Welcome, everyone. This is the pilot episode of Skip the Beat, a podcast loosely based on music. My name is Matt, and I'm joined by...
Katie.
Yes, so Katie and myself have been friends for quite a few years, so thank you so much for tuning in. We really look forward to kicking this podcast off, not just obviously tonight, but over the weeks and hopefully months and months to come.
I feel like the first thing that I just said then was Katie, and that's so far been my contribution. So,
Well,
things can only get better.
Well, let's pass over to you then, because we're starting this podcast, Skip the Beat, and need to explain what it is. I've said it's loosely based on music. Do you have any input to add to that?
What is Skip the Beat? Yeah, so it's a podcast loosely based on music where I think Matt and I hope to dazzle you all with our great array of knowledge around all things music. I'm a total hack, but I think I've got a few things to offer to all the other hacks out there. Matt has perfect pitch. He's a real musician, but...
I guess we'll get to a little bit more about ourselves as this episode goes on, won't we?
Yeah, I might have skipped ahead on the whiteboard. I don't know. Maybe I did.
There's no rules.
I mean, there's a few rules and I've just broken a couple of them, but that's okay.
But Katie and I have known each other for quite a while, and there is a whiteboard point that says, how did we meet? But before that, we've made a point to let you guys know a little bit about ourselves and who we are. And I think it's important to get that off the table. So, yeah, as I said, my name's Matt. I am your textbook, close to middle age, Aussie dad, got a few kids, and since I can remember, been chasing a music dream that, being in my mid to late 30s now, am still chasing. Again, more on that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But that's me. Katie?
Who am I? It's such a big question. It seems like we don't possibly have enough time. I haven't put my phone on silent. That's what's just happened there. Oh, gosh. Who am I? So I am firmly middle-aged. I'm 43. I am, I guess, a wannabe creative / musician / sort of cabaret style person. But at the moment, what I do is not that at all. So
quite different.
Let's see where this all goes. Yeah.
And as we said before, like, Katie and I have known each other for, well, we were talking a little bit earlier. I've known Katie quite a few years longer than what she's known me.
Yeah.
But Katie and I grew up together. We have spent a lot of time in our teenage years and early 20s in the church. Both our families went to the same church, and we were both being musicians. We spent time, whether that was on worship team, whether that was hanging out with a bunch of mutual friends. But Katie's version of how we met is she reckons she didn't meet me till I was about 18 years old.
Yeah. I can tell that story if you like
go.
now.
Over
yeah.
to you.
So I really do remember meeting Matt when he was 18 years old, and it was in the form of a really random text message that I got one night, and to my recollection it said something like, "Hey Katie, this is Matt. I really like the sound of your voice. I love how you sing. Would you be interested at all in writing some music with me?" And I sort of, for a moment, had to be like, how do I even have this person's number in my phone to know who they are? Not entirely sure who this person is. But what I did know was that Matt was sort of like this prodigiously talented musician. So I knew that he was a really talented keyboard player, piano player, or pianist. I don't know if that...
Pianist?
Don't know if we have to
worse.
have an explicit content warning if I say pianist. I'm not sure.
If you hear a beep, we figured it was too explicit.
It was too much. I knew that he was just incredibly talented, and he was, playing in some bands with some people from his school. Because at this stage, I was in my mid-20s. I'm a little bit older than Matt. And I remember getting this text thinking, I reckon I really would like to do that. But I remember thinking that Matt was really cool at 18. Which is very funny now.
Yeah, because you came to know that I wasn't cool.
Yeah, and then the way I came to know that he wasn't cool is that I realised that, and Matt will tell you the story of how he believes we met, but I realised I had known this guy for quite a bit longer, but it was almost like Matt had this entire change of personality sort of partway through high school, where he started caring deeply about hairstyles and fashion, and which are things he had not cared about before. So anyway, Matt messaged me asking if we wanted to write songs. And I think it was really soon after that we met, and I think the very first time we met, we wrote almost an entire song together.
We did, and I remember it really well. It was I was living at home, and shout out to my mum and dad, who spent a number of years where we would have songwriting, band rehearsals, and everything. We'll get to that in future episodes, I'm sure. The stories there, but shout out to my folks for being so open in us making noise on a piano in the room right next door to the kitchen. So. But yes, I did know Katie, I feel, a bit longer than what she knew me, because I was fairly good friends with your sister.
Yes.
Anna.
Yeah.
Shout out to Annie. And I knew her because, again, back to the playing in church days growing up, she was a piano player, just like myself. And I remember as a teenager being really inspired by the way she was able to play, and I learnt a lot from Annie in those early years. And there was years where we would, go down to the coast. There'd be a bunch of mutual friends that'd get together on a Sunday, and we'd head down to the coast for lunch and whatnot. I'd actually spend time driving in the same car as Katie.
Apparently I was there.
Because Katie would go with her sister, naturally. They are two very good friends, not just sisters.
I imagine I was driving on several of those trips, and you were probably in my car.
And because I was about 6.5 years younger, my mum probably came up and said, just making sure you've got your license and you're on your P's and you're going to...
Quick insurance check.
But yes, it was... I remember I've always been... someone who cannot write a lyric to save my life. Katie will also know that from the few lyrics across the years I've sent her, where she's been very, very gracious as a friend, saying, look, it's something.
I think we can do better.
But I think we can do which better. Is every word that you've got down there. Because you've rhymed love and glove.
Again.
And late and fate.
Yeah, he had a few key coupling rhymes that he liked.
So I needed to find that someone to help me with lyrics, but also with melodies. And thankfully, it was just it clicked from that first time we met to write a song, and then from there we've spent many years writing many songs.
We have,
but we haven't for.
It's been a while. Years. It's been over a decade since we've written a song.
Has it really been?
Yeah.
Even with your little project you had?
Oh, true. No, we did write some songs. We did write some songs recently. We might get to that at some point. Yeah.
In the next...
I remember we wrote this first song, and there was something sort of magical about that, where we truly... I mean, at least I truly believed that we'd written one of the great pop songs of all time. And that song's never, ever seen the light of day. In fact, we've never even recorded it to memory. Might be a project for the future, but that's the thing that I love the most about music is, you can do something that just in that moment, we were really... quite certain that we might be just about to become rock stars. Yeah.
Angus and Julia Stone. Who are some of the other great duos that are out there? Katie Noonan and
Tyrone.
Tyrone.
Yeah. We were fairly sure.
We decided we'd take it just a step back, let them have some limelight, let them get the fame.
Yeah. And 20 years later. It might be time for us to revisit some of those ideas. I don't know. I do not know. So that's how we met. So I met Matt in about 2004, but Matt met me in about
1994.
1992. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we'll get to this in future episodes, but we've spent many years writing and been in a couple of different bands that have had a couple of different projects, and yeah, as I said, we'll get to that in the episodes ahead.
Do you want to tell me what your first do you happen to remember what your first memory of me is?
Ooh.
Or vaguely it's probably a series of memories that
Yes,
you've packaged into one.
This is going to sound really weird because I don't know if you even know this, but
Is it going to be creepy?
No, not creepy. No. Have I ever been creepy towards you? Have we cut that yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Edit.
So you know how your folks used to look after the boarding at BBC?
Yes. Yep.
So I used to, at Toowong there used to be Forte School of Music where I used to learn piano.
Sure.
And
it's probably something a proper friend would know, sure.
And that was from when I was really little kid, but sort of it would have been early high school. I would say, it couldn't have been early high school because I wasn't there. It would have been late primary school. Mm-hmm. I used to have a particular, this is great content. Used to have a like an ensemble lesson and then have a 45 minute break until a solo lesson.
Yep.
And again, thank you so much to my folks for investing what I can't even imagine the sum of money into to lessons, just crazy. But I used to walk from there down to Toowong and go to the bakery and get a little cream bun and everything. And I remember walking back going, oh, that's Katie Wallace. Walking down one day. I probably said hi to you and you snubbed me, but that's...
Yeah, totally would have.
Yeah, but that's probably one of my first memories of going, oh, I know who that is. Like,
wow.
saw you in the wild from, I guess, not seeing you...
On a Sunday
That's really
only.
Weird, isn't it? Like,
that's amazing that you've remembered that.
Memory. Yep. And, this is going to make it even weirder. I remember it was when you had longer hair.
Yep.
And I remember because I was, again, in primary school when you're in that whole phase of not having any money. And I remember getting off my cousins a pair of Folkleys and just loving, I've always wanted a pair of Oakleys. And I remember you always had cool Oakley sunnies.
I did.
And so you were wearing Oakleys. And it's just the dumb, you've said this many times in our friendship, how I have the most ridiculous memory.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just so clear in my mind.
Yeah.
I was walking back from Toowong and you were walking down to Toowong.
I would have been rocking a pair of Oakley eye jackets in that era.
Would have been.
I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
So there you go. There's weird story number one for podcast number one.
Wow. I don't know that I don't know if my first memory of you is an actual first memory or if it's just because we've laughed about you so many times and sort of who you were through high school. But I do remember you existing at church prior to when I really knew you existed. And yeah, and we've talked about this so many times, and every time we just cry with laughter about the outfit that you used to wear every single week to church. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, this poor kid with just couldn't manage his hair yet. He was trying hard, but couldn't quite manage the gel, getting the hair in the right direction. But a pair of really beautiful cream cargo, I'm going to call them Capris. I'm not sure.
They would have been from Lowe's. That's where they would have come from.
They weren't short. They weren't long. I mean,
3/4.
I was wearing a tasty 3/4 slack.
Mm-hmm.
Cargo slack, and every week, same pants every single week, which now as a minimalist I have the utmost respect for. Absolutely. Yeah, 3/4 beige sort of cargo capri with either a blue or a red Hawaiian button down.
The two I had.
Button down shirt. He had two. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had he had a red and a blue, and he'd alternate those. And then for the start of when I remember, he was wearing like a brown lace-up sort of school shoe, I guess. And I'm certain with like a white slouch sock.
It could have been and folded down.
Yeah.
I was a treat. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. There was some stuff going on there,
Yeah.
and then he transitioned in the process to, because he became incredibly fashionable. Like when he was sort of 17, probably 16, 17,
Fashionable.
maybe.
That's a compliment.
Yeah. Take it, because I'm about to say some real
Okay.
terrible things about you. It got good is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, you had that outfit and those shoes. And when I knew you were sort of starting to transition into something a bit, more high end than that, was when you got your first pair of
I
Etnies.
was about to say the skate shoes.
Yeah. Were they Etnies or were they
No,
another brand? Were they Globes?
They were Corels.
Oh, Corels.
And they were red.
Okay. Yeah.
Red Corels.
Yeah. So the red Corels, when he rocked them with the Capris and the red Hawaiian shirt, that was
Fashion.
That was a real combo. And that's probably, my very first, that's my vintage memory that I have of you in my head of what Matthew Green was.
It's what got every girl at the year 7 graduation asking me to dance. Oh, wait. Fashion to the max.
Yeah, it was brilliant. So that's how we met.
That's how we met.
And did we talk about what we do now?
No, I think that's next on the whiteboard.
That's next. Yeah.
So
we've met. We've had all this time doing stuff together. I don't know. We'll probably talk about that later down the track. Or
probably.
Yeah.
I think we'll get into that.
We've been in a few bands together.
Yes.
Lots of funny stories which you'll get to know.
Absolutely.
You'll get to learn. Yeah.
Played music in a couple of different countries.
We have.
Around the world. Raised a bunch of money for a couple of different projects.
Yep.
Which, again, is a whole story you'll get into at some point.
Yeah. We'll talk about all that at some point. But after all of that sort of happened, we sort of stopped doing music together for a bit.
Oh,
and
quite a while.
What do we do now? What are you doing now?
Well, I started about 12 years ago. We have, a mutual friend.
Yes.
Someone who I do music a lot more with now, Nathaniel. Shout out to Nathaniel. And we... he is the person I do probably the majority of music with now. I'm in a band that we have released a bunch of music under called Alta Falls. It started probably 3 or 4 years ago, right when COVID happened. We thought this is the perfect time. Let's record some music and release it. And then the world went into lockdown, so we're like, perfect. Just
Brilliant.
Everything that happens in our music world, of course, that would happen. But we've known Nathaniel again for quite some time. Again, back in the same church, mutual friends, family friends. Growing up, he's always been a musician as well.
Nathaniel actually recorded a song for me. A bunch of my friends put in money because Nathaniel was doing some producing. When he was young, he was just in his probably like 20 maybe. And a group of my friends paid for Nathaniel to record a song I'd written. So that was my first ever experience of recording music with Nathaniel. Yeah.
Was that when he was doing, when he was down the con at
It would have
the
been
coast?
when he was studying still, but we recorded it in his house. He had
Okay.
all the gear. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I met Nathaniel many years ago, and we got to know Nathaniel a little bit more. Again, jumping back, when Katie and I have said we've been in a couple of different bands together over the years. He was someone who mixed and engineered the few albums that we did with that, and going back to 2011 when he basically was trying to finish an album that didn't take him much longer after I got involved, just a couple of years. But
He had been working on it for about a decade before
Yes,
you're
he had
involved,
been.
though. Long time.
But
Long time.
he asked me to if I wanted to come on board and just help play some gigs with him and help maybe finish this album off. So I said, sure, I'll help you out. I've got this other stuff I'm doing with Katie, which we weren't sure at the time what that was going to look like. So yeah, sure, I'll get involved. And from there, I started doing music with Nathaniel sort of more and more. He runs a...
I'm not going to use the word like Matt replaced me with Nathaniel. I'm not going to.
No,
I'm
don't
not.
use.
I'm
no,
not
'cause
saying that.
That's not accurate.
That's not what
true.
I'm saying.
No, definitely not.
That might be what you're hearing, and like it seems like that would be the accurate
it's
thing to
not the
say,
case,
but it's
is
not.
it?
It's
No.
it's not what happened.
No,
It's not
you've
what happened.
never held on to that
No,
at all, have you?
no. I loved it.
Yeah. So all those psychology appointments you were saying, is this where it comes out on the table?
Yeah,
Will you
this
hit me
is
with
my
an invoice?
primary reason for doing this podcast. It's
To finally get back at
just
all
to
the
finally
damage
be able to let it out. How you just ghosted me musically. Not true at all. Not true at all.
So I ended up starting to work for the company he runs in web design and digital marketing, and I've been there for 12 years, always with the goal of being able to obviously learn a lot more in that space. And I was a project manager for quite some time in that job. I'm still there, but thankfully the last probably 18 months, it was when my youngest and my third child and final child was born, the surprise child. Bless her. When she was born, thankfully music was in a position where I had to make a call. Look, I'm in my mid-30s now. In the scheme and in the eyes of the music industry, which is a whole other conversation, I'm ancient. I need to give this a crack, and I've got the opportunity to put a lot more time into Alder Falls, and I made the call to step away from project management, step back to about 20 hours a week, which has been so far the greatest decision I've ever made, because the flexibility has always been great at the company I work with or work for. And now that I'm back to 20, 25 hours a week, I've been able to put that other sort of 15 to 20 hours into music and doing it with Nathaniel. And it's just been over the last sort of 12, 18 months, been able to grow quite significantly. So for me, what I do now is I've still got a day job. I have to. We know that music doesn't make that much of an income, if any. But yeah, thankfully I'm in a position where I'm able to put a lot more time into my own music and into the Outer Falls project with Nathaniel. So that's me.
Yeah, so Matt works a bit and then he does a whole lot of music, and he's a dad and a husband.
So let's start a podcast.
Yeah.
Let's start a podcast, because I've clearly got time for that.
Yeah, Matt's wife is thrilled that he's carved out another entire project to do with his time. So Matt is sort of legitimately trying to do the whole music thing. What I do now is I also work a very normal job. I've worked for a lot of years in the disability sector. I'm an exercise physiologist. That is the degree I have from university. And after a lot of false starts, I guess, in my 20s about trying to be a creative and a writer and all sorts of other things, which we might get to. I don't know.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I spent a great deal of time living and working overseas in the developing world. And I wrote a book and I toured doing some things like that. But then I sort of came home and now I work a job so that I can pay a mortgage, which is fun, right?
Katie Waller's a homeowner.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
We never thought it would happen. Yeah. So I work a job that I really love, and I'm very fortunate that it's work from home with lots of flexibility. But there is something sort of in my guts that's like, I want to do something a bit creative as well. And because I know this guy and and he has a lot more passion and a lot more drive than I am, I'm basically just hanging on for dear life, trying to keep up, trying to learn a few things, and trying to see if I can rekindle some of the the passion I had for this stuff in my 20s, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I guess, sort of leads us on to why we started this, because really we started this because we're both tragic creatives at heart. And, and for me, I have a few things in the works, and I think I just wanted to do this podcast so that I could discipline myself to, I guess, a weekly moment of let's do something fun, let's do something that's not about work, that's not about mortgages, that's not about anything other than creative things. And so that's why I'm part of this. Why are you part of this? Why do you think we started this podcast?
We're doing it weekly, are we? Have we just committed to that?
Maybe not.
Okay. You'll see when episode 2 comes out.
In a month. Yeah. I mean, it's weekly-ish.
By Christmas.
Yeah.
What are we, in May?
If Matthew's Alta Falls albums and singles are anything to go by, it might be longer than... Now, it might take a bit longer than that.
That has been a huge increase in time between singles the last couple of years.
A huge decrease, do you mean?
Decrease. The other way. That way. The other way around.
Yeah.
So yeah, why do we start the podcast? Why did I want to start this podcast? Well, who's not doing a podcast in this day and age?
Can you call yourself a wannabe musician and not do a podcast?
Podcast as well on the side.
Yeah.
It's always something I've had in the back of my mind, probably for 2 years or so, and I listen to a bunch of different podcasts myself and motivational speakers, and that champagne. Oh, you did well. You did very well. I hope that's on camera. Just pouring some. This is, for all those who can't see, this is magnificent content. But a few motivational speakers and things like that I listen to as well. So Gary Vee, a lot of you will know Gary Vee, and he said years ago everyone should be, kind of when TikTok was sort of taking off. Kind of just after that. Sorry. Where he was saying, I think everyone should be getting on and doing a podcast and basically sharing the knowledge that they have in their field of whatever they're good at. And so it sat there just chipping away, and it wasn't until just one day, I think when was it that I mentioned it to you, saying, I got this idea to do this podcast?
I feel like it was last year.
Last year?
Yeah, it was a while ago. It was a while ago. I had a bit going on, so it's taken us a while to get here.
It could even be over a year ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's over a year, but yeah,
it'd be close.
Well over 6 months for sure.
So it's taken a while, but here we are, and we're both musicians. We both absolutely love music. We love live music.
Yes.
You probably, because of you don't have 3 kids, you get to a bit more live music than I do.
I'm pretty sure I spend more on live music than I do on groceries. If I was to check my little app,
probably.
If I was to check my little app, yeah, it's pretty tragic.
But we both love live music. We love getting out and seeing the arts, the performing arts in many different shapes and sizes. So it's a place where, we wanted to put this podcast together. We've got obviously a 20-year, or if you're going on my side, a 27-year friendship. And many
just
stories,
scraping in at 20 years for me.
many friendships and stories that we can laugh about and cry about. Katie's someone who is such a great friend that we could probably share any story and just know that the other person will be there to laugh with them, a little bit at them, but also just be there to support them. So we wanted to start this to share a bit of our life as a friendship with you all, what we're doing creatively in the music space, what we're seeing live, what's new in the music industry. That we might get technical sometimes as things that pop up when I'm in the studio and things like that. That for anyone out there who's interested in the whole mixing, mastering, recording side of things.
I feel like Matt's going to talk about cables and pedals and mixing things.
Mixing things.
Yeah,
all the things.
EQs, maybe Matt might talk
EQs.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk about rhyme and maybe melody. Maybe. I don't know yet.
So
nothing too technical from me. This is our guy for technical stuff.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that. That's a big call. You'll definitely get laughs and banter. That's for sure. I know not a lot on episode 1, the pilot, because we wanted to make sure that this half an hour or so was you getting to know us and what we're looking at doing with the podcast. But laughs and banter. As I said, thoughts on what's happening in the world of music. You're probably going to share a lot more embarrassing stories of me than I will of you, but I'll make sure I put my thinking cap on and remember.
Yeah.
There's
plenty you could say about me, I'm sure. You might just be a lot kinder than I am.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Maybe I need to work on that.
Yeah. I think our great hope is that, this podcast is loosely based on music. Our great hope is that we will be able to capture some of the laughs and the banter that we have when we talk about music, because that is the bulk of what our communications are about as well, about things we're seeing, what we're doing, what we're trying to create, what we find infuriating, but also sometimes that stuff turns out to be funny as well at the same time, because we've experienced the whole spectrum of stuff as we've played music together. Any disaster you can imagine, we've experienced it together trying to perform a show somewhere.
Give me one.
I don't know. Is it time? I don't know.
The first one.
I mean, I've got 10.
We played it in front of dogs. We played at a festival.
We did.
And we thought, all these people are coming down to watch us. This is great.
Yeah.
This is so good. And then these dogs came on literally right in front of the stage and started doing tricks while we're playing mid-song. Yeah. And there's all this...
People sort of started cheering. I had my eyes closed and we were singing a fairly significant song and about,
a girl in Africa.
Some young orphans we'd met in Africa, and it was really close to my heart, and I thought, they're getting it. People are like, this is it. And then I opened my eyes and there's like a Dalmatian doing a backflip or something, and it turns out no one really cared that we were there. We've experienced the absolute highs and lows of what music can do, but just mostly the highs, even though we really to date have had very limited success. Matthew's done a lot more impressive things than I have, but still, it has our hearts are very full of gratitude and all the good things about what music can do, and the fun times.
We've got some gigs coming up this week. We're going on different days, I believe, but one of our favourite artists of all time that I have not seen for the last time I saw this artist was I saw her with you and Jen.
I've forgotten about that one.
I've
seen her a few times
the wonderful
since then.
Missy Higgins.
Oh, yes.
She is doing her 20-year reunion tour of The Sound of White, which... absolutely loved that album. My lovely wife it was one of the first albums and one of the first artists I'm pretty sure she saw way back in the day. So I've always been a Missy fan, and I walk away from every Missy gig thinking, I think I'm going to give up music, because that was just in the pocket the entire night.
Too good.
The voice was perfect. There wasn't a mistake. The band was tight. She's a great storyteller. She's got a good little sense of humor. I just love her so much. But we're seeing her. When do you see? I'm seeing her Friday night.
Yeah, I see her Saturday.
Oh yeah, concert hall.
No, I'm on the Gold Coast.
Oh,
yeah. I'm on a lawn chair just under the stars.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Under the stars outside.
Yeah. Or the rain. We don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm seeing her at QPAC in the concert hall.
Beautiful.
So it was a Christmas present. It was one of those things, when you give a gift to someone, and you're just like, are they going to enjoy it as much as... I got to be careful here because I really like the idea of this gift, and it's kind of a gift to myself. But I didn't have to worry about that because I knew that Jen would absolutely love it. So I didn't have to feel... It wasn't a guilty gift. It was, she's going to absolutely love this. And are you going to take me? That's great. It's going to be a date night.
Risky move giving her 2 tickets.
Got some parents looking after the kids. It's going to be it'll be great. So that's the next gig for us. So hopefully we'll be probably recording episode 2 after... Well, we definitely will be after that gig. So I'm sure...
And I suspect episode 2 will just be an ode to Missy Higgins.
It will be.
Because I'm not sure we'll be able to talk about much else for a little while. Oh dear. What do you think, to finish off? I don't know if you've got an answer for this, but because we're a podcast loosely based on music, I feel like we should end on a music sort of themed question. What's the best musical moment you've had this year?
This year?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say in your whole history, because this is our first episode, but this might be a recurring... This might be a question we come back to in, some weeks' time. What's our highlight in music?
I think I know the number one, and I'm trying to think of this year, because I've seen some amazing gigs this year. One of my favourite bands, an Australian band called Holy Holy, saw them at the Tivoli a number of weeks ago, and I've seen them many times, but they're just, when you see a band many times and you're like, is it, is it going to be the same or is it going to be different? Is it going to be better? They find a way to evolve their sound and just, in my mind, make every gig. Like, it's not like seeing them 8 years ago when I saw them probably for the first time. It just blew me away. I was at the Tivoli. I hate the Tivoli when you're trying to view the stage because it's so flat, but the sound there is unbelievable. So I reckon that would be the gig of this
Gig of the year for you?
Yeah, for me this year. Lifetime would definitely be, just as COVID was setting in. You were there. It was the Elton John Goodbye Yellowbrick Road tour. We saw him at Cirame.
Yep.
And it didn't rain. It was mud. It was raining for the weeks leading up to it.
The month leading up to it.
There were people there in gumboots. It was awful mud walking through it to get there. Didn't rain until his encore from memory.
Yep.
And I sat different. It was one of those things where I'm like, this is the last time I'm going to see this artist. Obviously, I'm a keyboard player and I've learnt piano my entire life, so naturally, someone like him has been a massive inspiration to me. And I was thinking, this is going to be the last time I see him, even though it wasn't. At the time, I thought this is going to be the last time I see him. So I invested a little bit more money just to get a seat fairly close to the stage. I think it was about 8 rows back or something like that.
Yeah.
And you took a little bit back. You got a chair a little bit further back on the lawn.
I did.
With a few other people. And
in future podcasts, we might talk about another show where you were right at the front and I was...
maybe. I'm sure that'll come up.
And I was a little bit further back.
What, 2 rows?
We might... Just a little teaser for you.
Yeah.
There's a story for a future pod. Sorry, as you were.
Let's go, girls.
Go on.
I don't know how. Let's just cut back to that a little bit. There's been this thing where it's like a little secret that Matt seems to like this particular artist, female. I'm like, it's not a secret. Like, I don't know anyone who doesn't know.
It's definitely not a secret.
There's this.
Matt is deeply in love with Shania Twain.
Just
deeply in love. Yeah.
Anyway,
in musical love. Yeah.
It's a close second, I reckon. But the reason this became the best gig was there was a bunch of people in the VIP section, and I didn't have a.
We flash back to Elton now.
We're back to Elton.
Yep.
So I didn't have a lung to sell to get in the top front row where all the fancy VIP get to be. And there was a bunch of people walking back from there. I think coming back, he was in his second song or something like that to get photos, I think, at the stage. And there was security guards opening up the little ribbon or parting the chairs. And they walked back.
Moses situation.
I had a seat on an aisle. And I thought, you know what? What's going to happen here? Like, I'm just going to get told to turn around and go back. Like, I've just got to, you know me, I'm not that type, but I'm a rule follower, you know that.
Yep.
And I was like, I've got to do it. So I got my phone out, just said hi to the guy beside me that was standing there taking a photo. I was like, oh, pretty good, eh? Yuck, tiny dancer, and took photos as well. And I thought, I'm just going to start walking back. And walked through. They did not bat an eyelid. I got up and then spent, 90% of the show at the did you know that I was there at the front until...
only when you told me after.
And just, I was able to be there and just just in this whole thing, it's his last show. He puts on if you haven't seen him, he puts on a ridiculous show. Whether you like or hate him, from someone who sits behind a piano and doesn't move, they know how to put on a show. And it was just being there and going, I can't believe this. I'm too scared to go to the toilet because I'm not ever going to get back here. So I've just got to hold it for the next 2 hours. But it was, just that moment, and the rain came down. I didn't even care. It was just, that was...
That's your lifetime moment.
I think so. There's been a lot of gigs. But I think
there
that has to be.
There have been a lot of gigs, yeah.
It has to be.
And thankfully, now that we're doing this podcast, we'll only have to remember the last week or two of what we've seen. We won't have to do the whole lifetime thing.
Episode 3, we'll go, oh, hang on, there was a gig that was better than that. Let's just go back to then. So Elton John's your lifetime, and this year's Holy Holy. Yep. Okay, finish us off, Wallace.
Oh, it's hard for me because, like Matt said, I see an enormous amount of live music. Lifetime for me, it has to be my very first stadium gig. So I'd been to a few sort of musicals and things, but my very first stadium gig and the very first love of my life musically, and it's kind of embarrassing now, but at the time it wasn't embarrassing.
Rolf Harris. It's just cut that.
Cut that.
Anyway,
that.
go as you were.
No. 1998. So I just finished high school. Mariah Carey, Brisbane,
Who else?
Brisbane Entertainment Centre. Oh, the Butterfly Tour, and just wept from beginning to end. Never knew that I could feel that way about anything. Didn't sleep the night I got home. That's my lifetime experience of what it means to go to a show that you just love beyond. This year, it's hard to say, and I'm going to have to allow myself 2 categories for this year, because I can't not say Taylor Swift. I have to say Taylor Swift because I was one of the chosen ones. My
Your browser was friendly.
Yeah, my partner Emma at the time, she had the golden touch, got those tickets, and it was everything I hoped it would be. We had really expensive tickets down on the ground level at the MCG. Emma is 6 foot. I am barely 5 foot. 5 foot. What am I, like 5? Oh no, I'm a bit of 5 foot, maybe 5'5". Yeah, I got a bit of five in me.
Yeah.
Couldn't see a thing the entire gig, but just standing in the middle.
So a normal gig.
Yes, standard.
Standard gig.
Yeah, standard gig for me. Tivoli, MCG, doesn't matter.
Same.
Katie can't see a thing. But just being there, it was like, I can't compare it.
The old T Swift.
The collective energy of the crowd. I've certainly seen more musically impressive things, but the collective energy was like nothing I've ever experienced. But aside from the T Swift, which she sort of stands in a category of her own, my pick for the year would have to be a gig I went to very recently, just in the last few weeks, and it was Beth Orton at the Tivoli in Brisbane. So many of Matt and my favourite memories have happened at the Tivoli in Brisbane, a great and iconic venue here in our fine city. But yeah,
Did you see her?
I could, because I got those sweet-ass balcony seats.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, got
So it
the
was
bird's
seated?
eye. No, it wasn't.
Oh.
But I sat on the floor, right on the balcony,
Gotcha.
up the top
So you're
level.
upstairs.
We went up top.
Yeah, it's good.
Went up top, sat on the balcony, just perfect view. This and I don't know who's going to listen to this podcast, and there might only be 3 people who even know who Beth Orton is, but she's pretty iconic from the 90s, British singer-songwriter. Her one of her earlier albums was formative for me. Like through my university years, and so we got to see her this year, and it was a very, very much a case of being transported somewhere else. And I did that thing where I just sat there the whole time with sort of that face where my chin's down.
Everyone can see it.
Podcasts, you can't really see what I'm doing, but like mouth open, just staring at this person, not believing that you can possibly be seeing something that good. So that's me.
Done.
This was
Gig
Skip
for the
the
year
Beat.
so far.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I will be very surprised if we don't both come back episode 2 and go, Missy was the gig of the year. She's just so good. So good. So yes, that is it. So we're done. This is the pilot, episode 1 of Skip the Beat. You can find, there's probably not going to be that much on our socials just yet. Probably a few little teasers in the lead up to this.
I'm still learning how to do the socials.
Yeah,
so
you asked me this afternoon what Instagram was.
Yeah. How do you tag someone, Matt? What is that?
How do you tag someone?
Yeah.
You can find us Skip the Beat podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Eventually, we'll have everything from Facebook. We're going to have the podcast available, obviously, everywhere. We've recorded this as well as a little camera up there that has been watching what we do. So we're going to get that up on YouTube as well, and hopefully it's up there. Hopefully the editing of this comes together. But I think we've done it in one take, haven't we? This is it. This is it.
Yeah, there might be a few bits, like that time I tried to pour wine in the middle of the podcast.
That has to stay.
It may or may not stay. We'll see. We'll see. We are doing this, and we're really hoping that you'll be gracious with us, because we're just learning as well.
Give us some weeks.
Yeah, give us some time, and I think we're gonna hit some stride. I believe we're going to hit some stride, and
we've got a great number of little segments, I think, that we'll start bringing in. Today was just you getting to know us as best you can in a 45-minute podcast opener. But yeah, we've put some thought into it, and we've got a few little segments that I think will help bring some laughs and get some more banter rolling in the coming episodes as well. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are and whatever time it is. And we will see you for episode 2 very soon.
Yeah, maybe weekly.
Mate, yep, apparently that is weekly. See you next week.
Perfect. Ciao.